Locations in the comments, everybody. Happy Tuesday morning. Put your locations in the comments as y'all are coming in, and we will get started in a moment as usual. Can moderator somebody pin that comment that I just posted right there that says get to yes without asking? Can somebody pin that? Moderators on TikTok. And we will get started in a moment as y'all are coming in. Shout yourselves out in the comments section. Tell me your locations. Today we're going to talk about the Democrats again. I mean, since people think I talk about Trump all the time, let's talk about the Democrats. That's what we're going to talk about here today. We're going to talk about some Democrats who have been exposed, or some Democrat supporting people. Let's not even call them Democrats, but it looks like they're Democrat supporters. It's going to be pretty obvious they're Democrats, but let's just call them that just to be fair. Some Democrat supporting people getting caught lying, covering up for Joe Biden. We're going to get into that here today. So as you come in, locations in the comments. Locations in the comments as y'all are coming in. I'll post it again. All right, there it is. Might get buried because there's a lot of comments coming in at the same time. As y'all are coming in, put your locations in the comments, folks. Locations in the comments as y'all are coming in. Tell me where you are checking in from. We are live on Rumble. Good morning. We are live on YouTube. Good morning. Let me check and see if we are active on X. Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. We are live on LinkedIn. Good morning. My name on LinkedIn and on X and on YouTube and on Rumble is the same. It is at Dre All Day. If you want to follow me or make sure you catch all the replays are always on my YouTube channel forever. They are, well, at least unless YouTube goes away or they kick me off. Replays are on Facebook. Facebook takes down replays after about a month or so. TikTok probably does the same thing. And good thing about YouTube is that you can watch it you can change the speed and all that. Y'all know how YouTube works. LinkedIn, we are live as well. I don't know if they keep replays. Facebook, X, Rumble as well. I'm live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin, live on Facebook/Work on Your Game University. If you're a Facebook user, that's Facebook/Work on Your Game University. That's my Facebook business page. And we are live on TikTok. As always, TikTok/Work on Your Game. I will tell you all up front that today will be the last live of the week because I'm going to be traveling the rest of this week. So it won't be any live tomorrow or Thursday or Friday. So we're going to miss talking about the outcome of a whole bunch of elections happening today. So a lot of elections happening. There are some mayoral elections. There are some state level leader elections. There are governor elections happening in many states. I think there's going to be some interesting conversations, specifically Virginia, between Spanberger and Sears, New Jersey. And it looks like a Republican has a chance in Jersey. We'll see if they actually win. And then you have the mayoral election happening in New York City, which is going to be a huge news item. I think we're going to be talking about that one way or another based on what happens in New York and several other places there are elections happening. So I won't get to talk about any of that stuff until next week. But we will talk about it depending on what happens between now and next week. But this will be the last live of this week. We'll be back, though, this upcoming Monday. By the way, if you are not in my text group, if you have not texted me yet, it is free to be in my text group. Text me at my number, 305-384-6894. Numbers in my profile. Text the word power. You get into my Power Presence Protocol program, which is the main thing that we focus on over here at Work on Your Game. I'll tell you about that in a moment. Let's first make sure I shout out a few people in the comments here. We already got our locations in here. So as y'all are coming in, again, shout yourselves out in the comments section. Leah, good morning. Congrats on the first comment. 140.6, Walnut Creek, California. Tucker Frank, Washington, good morning. 4, Baptiste, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Murphy the Mutt, Bristol, Tennessee. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit is in the house. Thank you for the gifts early. Dwayne and Murphy the Mutt. Leah, thank you for the Go Popular. Annie, morning from Kentucky. Thanks for the hand hearts. Leah, Laura, Iggy Lover, good morning from Oklahoma. Giga Dad, good morning. L. Johnson, Union, New Jersey. Trucker J, checking in from Atlanta. Leah J, yes, tap the screen as you come in, as Leah said here. Did I say Leah J? Leah, thanks for coming in. Quail Ridge, good morning. Lincoln, California. Linda Gale, 1935 from St. Louis. Ron Johnson from Ohio. Turner Frank Washington from Joliet, Illinois. It's Poopy said WDC. Is that Washington, D.C. or is that somewhere else? I never heard it called WDC. 11 Bravo checking in from South Carolina. Good morning, Tia. Thank you for the lightning bolt. Noel, good morning. Pleasant Hill, California. Shout out to people waking up early in California on the West Coast, 5 in the morning. Murphy the Mutt, thank you for the share. Happiness Now from Atlanta. Dolphin from Missouri. We said must be filtered because it's not showing. Though. He must have filtered it up. Maybe they did. I see it, but maybe y'all don't see it. Courtney checking in from Nashville. Good morning. Yeah, they must be filtering. How they filtering my comments? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Carla, Indiana. Good morning. Gene, good morning. Upstate New York. Because I can said good morning. I missed it. From Kansas. Husband is running for our small town mayor. Fingers crossed. Okay, congrats. And well, good luck. Your husband's running for mayor. Is the election today? So shout out to Because I Can running for mayor in a small town in Kansas. What's the name of the town? Because I Can. Your husband's running for mayor. And let's see. LDG, Minnesota. Thank you for the share. Sherry from Louisiana. KS Priest, good morning from Northwest Georgia. Kent Cato from San Antonio. Sheila G, good morning. The woman in her curves checking in from Miami. Shout out to everybody in Miami. Shout out to Overtown. Shout out to Downtown. Shout out to South Beach, of course. Shout out to North Miami Beach. Shout out to Brickell. Shout out to Kendall. Shout out to Coconut Grove. Shout out to Coral Gables, Miami. Beautiful place. That's where I'm located. X amount of time from Connecticut. Good morning. I am Lee 51, Phoenix. Sheila G, number 3, gifted badge. Sheila G, go popular, number 10. Irma V, good morning. Joanna, good morning from New York. Angela from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Because I Can say Ignalls, LOL, population maybe 300. Oh, wow. So your husband has a good chance of winning. He's running for mayor. 300 people in the whole town? Wow, they should be able to count those votes pretty quickly. At least you'll get an answer pretty quickly, right? TV20, good morning from Wyoming. Shout out to Wyoming. Jennifer Stewart from Midland, Michigan. I've actually been to Wyoming. I've been to Miami. I've been to Wyoming too. Irma V, number 2, gifted badge. Noel, thanks for the share. Irma, thank you for the blow bubbles. Nikki from Connecticut. TV20, Wyoming. Yeah, shout out to Wyoming. It's a place I've actually been. One time I remember going, I was there once and I came back from somewhere at night and we were in a van. We pulled the van up to where the hotel was at. And there was a big field across the street from where we pulled up the van. The lights are on. It was at night. And all you saw was all these deer. It was like 100 of them. As soon as we pulled up, you saw the deer. So shout out to Wyoming. So Marky Man from Sacramento. Samuel Pombo said, why is Bitcoin dropping? I don't know. If there was a way to know for sure why and to predict the future of it, then I think a lot of people will make a lot of money or a lot more money than they're making. Let's see what the price of Bitcoin is right now. Bitcoin right now is, it did drop to 103. If Bitcoin continue, every time Bitcoin drops, I'll just buy more of it. This is not financial advice. Bitcoin has dropped to 103. It's at 103 right now. Last week it was at about 115 last week. I don't care if it drops. I believe Bitcoin is going to be pretty good. I think Bitcoin is going to end up in a pretty good space. Here's what the person who asked that question about Bitcoin, I zoom out. I won't even focus on the short term. I focus on the long term. So this time last year, a year ago, Bitcoin was at $67,000. One Bitcoin cost $67,000 a year ago. This time this year, today, as you just mentioned it, Bitcoin's at 103,000. Actually, as I'm looking at this, it's at 103,000 right now. So it's already going up. It's going up damn near 40,000 in the last year. I'm more focused on the long term than the short term. So that's my answer to your question about Bitcoin. I didn't actually answer your question, but I did answer your question. So, and then Tamwell said, helps me not be so nervous about it. Here's the best way to not be nervous about your investments. Make the investment and stop looking at it. That's what you should do. So I'm engaged in Bitcoin. I will say that, but I don't look at the price every day. So you shouldn't be looking at the price of Bitcoin every day. Just invest, make your investments consistent, automate your investments so you don't even have to open an app or the website or whatever you do to do your investing. And then just make your investments happen consistently and then don't look at it. So then if the price goes up or down, you don't even know about it. I only know because you just said that. I didn't know that the price had went down at all. And it doesn't matter. I think in the long term, the price is going up. Brooke Elizabeth, thanks for the follow. XTR said, I hope you bought Tesla when it was way down. Well, it's the same thing that I would do with stocks. I would do with Bitcoin is you make your consistent investments and then you don't even look at it. But if I hear it, let's say some news comes out that says, "Oh, the stock is way down." Remember Tim Walz, and they were talking about how Tesla was dropping. Yeah, how's it doing now? Notice nobody's talking about it anymore. Since y'all brought it up, let's see how Tesla's doing. I don't even look at this stuff consistently. I just let it automatically invest, and then I don't even look. But let's see. Let's see how Tesla is doing. So right now, Tesla year to date, over the last year, actually, Tesla's up 104%. So you remember all that people were talking about Tesla was dropping and all this stuff. This month is up 3%. This year is up 104%. In the last 5 years is up 26% annualized. In the last 10 years is up 41% annualized. So 10 years ago, in December 2015, Tesla stock was $16. Today, Tesla stock is $468. Now, that's the game that you really need to play. So that's the way I look at anything like Tesla. So Tesla stocks have been going up pretty consistently just in this year. Around the time that people were bashing Tesla, that was around March of this year, was at $230. In March of this year, Tesla was $230. Now it's $456. So don't take investment advice from Tim Walz. Anyway, the topic here today is lying Democrats who've been covering up for Joe Biden. So what happened was there was a House Oversight Committee event that happened in October, late October, about a week ago. And the 2024 campaign narrative, it is definitely a narrative. There's a whole lot of stories. We know 2024 campaign, you had the Trump saga with all the legal cases trying to block him from even being on the ballot, or what's the word? Bankrupt him so he couldn't do his election, or incarcerate him so he literally would not be able to run for president, all of which would have been beneficial for the Democrats. We know that was happening. Then you had Joe Biden, who it was clear that he was mentally addled. He wasn't the same Joe Biden that he had been a while ago. Good morning, Will Viewers from Tampa on Instagram. Clearly, he wasn't the same Joe Biden, but he insisted on running again. I think that was more of his ego and his ambition, and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, wanting him to run again so that they could stay in power and continue to have their access. Then you had, once Joe Biden did that disastrous debate, in which was basically signaled the end of Joe Biden's career. He went out sad in that last debate. He gets replaced by Kamala Harris, and then Kamala Harris had her 107 days. So there's a whole lot of plot lines and storylines going on in the 2024 campaign. There's a new conversation happening. This guy named Donelan, and for whatever reason, I took notes on I wrote down his last name, but I didn't write down his first name. So let me find out this guy's first name. Donelan. O-N. Donelan. Tom Donelan. Is that him? Make sure I got the right person. Or is it Mike Donelan? No, Mike Donelan. Donilon. Donilon. Yes, Mike. Yeah, he was Joe Biden's advisor. So Mike Donelan is this guy right here. Here's Mike. And we're going to be talking a little bit about Mike. We're going to use him as a frame for the conversation here today. So Mike Donelan, he was one of Joe Biden's advisors. His job was to be an advisor to Joe Biden, and he was at the House Advisory Committee hearing last week, and Mr. Mike Donelan, he was on stand. Now, he's a longtime senior advisor to Joe Biden. He was a key strategic architect. He confirmed under oath. Here's the part y'all should notice. He confirmed under oath that his compensation for the 2024 re-election effort of Joe Biden included an upfront payment of $4 million. Doesn't mean he's done anything wrong, but he got paid $4 million upfront. And he was set to receive another $4 million bonus if Joe Biden won the election. This is his advisor, basically a campaign consultant. That's who this guy is, Mike Donelan. He was a campaign consultant, $4 million up front as a, what do they call it, like a retainer. So $4 million retainer up front, and then he got another $4 million if Joe Biden won the election. Now, why does this matter? I mean, that alone is not necessarily some negative thing. If Kamala Harris hired me for the 2028 election campaign, which she might and she should hire me for the 2020 election campaign, if she did, I would tell her, okay, you got to give me, that was Mike Donelan. So let's pull up Mike one more time so we can see Mike. Here's Mike Donelan. I would say, hey, Kamala, here's Mike Donelan. The Democrats, Joe Biden, your boss, your former boss, paid this guy $4 million to be your campaign manager. So Kamala, is only right that you pay me $5 million to be your campaign. What do they call this person? I guess we'll just call you campaign consultant. You got to pay me $5 million, Kamala. I want $5 million up front, and I want a $5 million bonus if you win. And given all the money she got for her book, she should have no problem paying this. And it's coming out of DNC's budget anyway. It's not her money. So I would tell Kamala she had to pay me $5. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing illegal about that. You give me $5 million to help you out and $5 million if you win. So now I'm incentivized to help you win the election, which Mike Donovan was. The issue is this puts a massive financial stake on the line tied directly to the president's continuation in office while the campaign was sitting on internal polling that's showing that Biden was going to lose. So again, this is not necessarily a crime that Mr. Donovan committed. He was kind of, what do we want to call this? It's not a crime. He didn't do anything illegal, but I would say this is a little bit shady business, and it also paints a picture and helps you all understand what we're going to talk about here today. Why Joe Biden kept running for president in 2024 when it was clear before he announced that he was going to run for re-election, before the announcement that he was already starting to mentally fall off. We all started to see that even before we got into the heat of the campaign season, which let's just say that's from about April or May up through November, that last 6 months. It was clear that Joe Biden was already declining, but he was insisting on trying to run again. And this small piece of information paints a picture that Joe Biden had, first of all, incentive as himself and his wife to want to run and stay in office, but also because his advisors, the people around him who are more mentally capable, they were financially incentivized to make sure he stayed in the race, because if they won, they stood to make a whole bunch of money. You understand? That's why this is interesting, because if it was just about Joe Biden doing what makes the most sense for America, he probably would have dropped. Had he had people around him who cared about the Democratic Party, not just Joe Biden in their own pockets, maybe he would have dropped. And maybe it would have been an open primary. Maybe you definitely would have got a better candidate than Kamala Harris. Maybe Donald Trump would not have won the 2024 election had they had a more qualified candidate. But this is what we ended up with. But according to many Democrat voters, Kamala was the most qualified candidate in the history of America. So maybe you couldn't get a more qualified candidate. But there's a direct line tied to the president's continuation in office. On the campaign, again, here's another piece. They were sitting on, allegedly, sitting on information that showed internally that Joe Biden was declining in the polls, meaning the people who were likely to vote when they were asked, would you support Joe Biden winning or Joe Biden being the candidate for 2024 for the Democrats? The internal polling was showing that Joe Biden was slipping in those polls, i.e., even Democratic voters were not set on supporting a Joe Biden re-election campaign, even though they're Democratic voters. So, in long story short, the Democrats knew before that disastrous debate that Joe Biden was not the best candidate that they could put forward, yet they pushed forward with Joe Biden anyway for several reasons. It's not only one reason why this happened. It's not just Mike Donovan. It's not just Joe Biden himself. It's not just Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic machine. There's actually several pieces. This is a multivariate issue. Now, critics are calling this a smoking gun that proves that the presidency was run partly as a monetary operation. I do believe this is true, and I'm going to explain why. It wasn't just a public service. Why is this? It's because Joe Biden's top advisors, if we can agree that Joe Biden was starting to slip mentally, meaning he wasn't cognitively capable of making his own decisions and being of sharp mind when doing so, he was leaning on his advisors to help him make decisions as to what to do next. I mean, that's the reason why you have advisors, because they help you make decisions. Now, if his advisor, as we know, this guy swore under oath, he was set to receive an additional $4 million to the $4 million he already got up front if Joe Biden won the election. Why would this guy tell Joe Biden to get out of the election? Of course he wouldn't. If I'm advising Kamala Harris and she already gave me $5 million and I say, Kamala, I get another $5 million if you win, and she agrees to that, and we have it documented that if she wins, she gets another $5 million, there is nothing that can happen to Kamala Harris that would cause me as her top advisor to tell her to get out of the election, because I'm trying to get my money. I'm trying to get my $5 million. I don't care if you are about to get blown out in the election. I want that $5 million. Kamala, stay in the election. And if you end up losing, I still don't get my money, but at least I want to give myself a shot. So Mike Donovan gave himself a shot by telling Joe Biden to stay in the campaign until it was obvious that he couldn't win, and Mike Donovan had to watch his possible $4 million float away. The saving grace for Mike Donovan is that not even Kamala won. So it's not like he would have won had he had this agreement from the Democrats, period, let alone just Joe Biden. So defenders say that the contract could reflect standard campaign incentives. It does, but it also reflects that this guy was incentivized to keep Joe Biden in the race. So the key questions we're going to address here is, are those financial incentives influencing decision making? I mean, that's a ridiculous question. The answer is, of course, yes. Incentives always influence decision making, any kind of incentive. And did it suppress disclosure of Joe Biden's alleged cognitive decline? I say not really, because people already knew that Joe Biden was declining. You got all the people on the Democratic side were acting like he wasn't declining. Then all the people on the Republican side saying it's obvious that he's declining. And it became this he said, she said, back and forth battle until it became so obvious that nobody could deny it, which was after that disastrous debate by Joe Biden, which was the end of his career. It's like a great boxer getting knocked out. And that's the last thing you ever see him in the ring. That was Joe Biden in that debate. And it was obvious that he was declining. But then again, it had to become too obvious to where people couldn't change the story. And then the Democrats came out with a whole new story. Oh, he just had one bad night, according to Karine Jean-Pierre. I don't think so. Anyway, what does this mean for the trust in public leadership, political leadership, accountability, and campaign ethics, if there are any? I personally don't think there's such thing as campaign ethics, but we'll get into that. Let me introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks, and run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our job here is to help you with the power of presence. What does the power of presence mean? How many of you would like to close business deals without having to? How many like to close a business deal before you even say anything? You want the deal done as soon as you walk in the room. How many of you would like to raise your prices and increase your value in the marketplace? How many of you would like to get people to say yes before you even ask a question? And to do all of these things without saying a single thing, that's what the Power Presence Protocol is all about. We help people command the room without speaking. That is the 85% of communication that is nonverbal. And then we take that 85% that you have mastered, we add on the final 15%, which is the stuff that you actually say, the things that you consciously do. And we fuse all that together into one piece of credibility that we call presence, that makes your deals get done, makes people cooperate with you, and it leaves an imprint on everyone who you come across without you saying a single thing. We call this the power of presence. If you want to learn more about that, just text the word power to the number in my bio. My number is 305-384-6894, or you just click the links in my profile that say powerpresenceprotocol.com. They're probably pretty easy to find on every app you're watching on, whether in the description, pinned comment, or just in my profile. Getting into this, Mike Donovan. He's the guy who becomes basically the smoking gun for this whole thing, because he's the one who testified before this House committee. Again, $4 million for his campaign role, another $4 million that Biden won. He admitted this under oath. And this level of performance-based payout is, even the people who work in campaign deals, they say this is an unusually large number for a campaign strategist, and it raises an ethical question. This is a lot of money this guy took. Usually what I've heard, again, I have never worked on a campaign, but what I've heard from people is that when you're an advisor for a campaign, that money that you get paid is coming out of the budget for the candidate. So let's think about this. Let's say I got a budget of $100 million. I'm running for president. If I got a budget of $100 million, most of that money I need to spend on what? I need to spend most of that money on advertising and boots on the ground so that I can actually win the election. I mean, isn't that the very point? The very point here is I want to spend that money on advertising so I can win the election. But if I'm giving 10% of my budget or even 5% of my budget to an advisor, that means I have less money to use to actually win the election, which is actually hurting the chances of the advisor getting more money. Think about it. If I go to Kamala and I say, Kamala, give me $5 million up front. You got a budget of $100 million, Kamala, or $1 billion if it's Kamala Harris. You got a budget of $1 billion. Give me $5 million up front, and I want a $5 million bonus if you win. And she says, okay, well, that's $5 million and potentially $10 million less that she has to use to actually win so that I can put the money in my pocket. So I'm kind of hurting myself in the process, because that $5 million that she has to keep aside to give to me is $5 million that she doesn't use for the campaign, which might actually hurt the chances of her winning, which hurts me getting my $5 million. So me, by trying to be greedy and get the extra $5 million, I'm actually hurting my chances of getting the $5 million. Everybody following here? So this raises an ethical campaign question, and it also raises the question of who the hell was running Joe Biden's campaign to let this guy even get this deal? Why did they even agree to this? Why did Joe and Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, why did they agree to pay this guy $8 million. He really needed, Joe Biden really needed really needed to pay $8 million to Mike Donilon to figure out how he was going to win this election. He knew what he had to do to win the election. Basically take everything that Trump is about, which is clear. He's already declared what he's about, stand against it, and then leverage all the voters to come vote against Donald Trump, i.e. Or vote for you. Most people were not voting for Joe Biden. Nobody cares about Joe Biden. They were voting against Donald Trump, voting for the Democratic Party, voting against MAGA. That's all Joe Biden had to do. Now, do you really need to pay somebody $4 million for them to tell you that? Joe Biden, I would have did that for, you could have gave me $400,000. I could have told you that. I could have $400,000 to hold me in place and $400,000 if you win. No, I wouldn't have did it $400,000. Knowing that he's giving away $8 million, I would have told him, give me $1 million. All right, Dr. Jill, give me $1 million. Give me $800,000 up front and $200,000 if you win. I don't want half my money based on whether he wins or not. Because listen, you ain't that good, so I want my money based on if you win. As a matter of fact, give me $950,000 up front. Now give me a $50,000 bonus if you win. I don't even want a bonus. Just give me $1 million. I don't even want a bonus for you winning. I don't want my money based on your performance. I'm not actually performing. I'm just advising. All right, so if you don't perform, that ain't my fault. No, I want all my money. Just give me $1 million. Okay, so I'm already giving you a big discount over Mike Donilon. All right, that's what I would have said to Joe and Jill, Dr. Jill, Joe and Dr. Jill Biden. Now, a bonus payment alone does not prove wrongdoing, as I already said. So some say this is a negotiated contract and it's negotiated for results. There's nothing corrupt about this. That is true. There's nothing corrupt about getting a bonus payment. I don't think Mike Donilon, I don't think this is good business by Mike Donilon. Personally, I think this was not smart by him. I don't want half of the money that I stand to make from you based on you actually going out there and performing. It's kind of like if I'm a personal trainer and you come to me and you say, I want to lose 50 pounds. And I say, okay, then the total for me to help you lose 50 pounds is $50,000. Give me $25,000 up front. And if you've lost 50 pounds within the next 6 months, then I get the other 25,000. But if you don't lose the 50 pounds, then you get to keep the 25,000. I'm not doing it. Now, why am I not doing it? You may say, well, Dre, if you're a personal trainer and you're any good, then you should have no problem having your money tied to the performance of your client. I say, on the contrary, my friend. My expertise is based in telling you what to do, how to do it, showing you how to do it, and advising you along the way. But I do not control your actual behavior. I don't control if you're actually going to do the workouts. I don't control if you're going to get the amount of sleep that I told you to get. I don't control if you're going to stay away from the ice cream and the bonbons and the donuts. I don't control if you're going to be sitting around watching Netflix all day when you should be stretching. I don't control whether you're going to show up to the gym or not. I don't control if you actually are going to believe in yourself and do what I tell you to do when I'm not there. I'm not babysitting you 24 hours a day. So I don't want my money based on what you actually do. It's $50,000. You pay me the $50,000. And if you actually do it and you lose the 50 pounds, great. But I don't want my money tied to your performance. This ain't no daycare. So I don't think Mike Donilon, this is not smart business by Mike Donilon. It was not, and it was at the same time. The reason it was not is for the reason that I just explained, is that Mike Donilon had half the money he stood to make from Joe Biden coming based on if Joe Biden went out there and performed. Mike Donilon couldn't speak at the debate for Joe Biden. So when Joe Biden went out there and fell all over himself and looked like he belonged in a nursing home, what did Mike Donilon have to do with that? So Mike Donilon lost $4 million because Joe Biden couldn't talk. What the hell that got to do with Mike Donilon? What that got to do with him? You remember the movie Friday? The first time we saw Big Worm, he pulled up on the block and he called Smokey, it was Chris Tucker, over to him and said, hey, did you sell all that bud you're supposed to be selling for me? And Chris Tucker didn't have all the money. And he's trying to explain to Big Worm. He says, well, you know what happened? Craig got fired from his job yesterday. You know what Big Worm said to Smokey? He said, what the fuck that got to do with me? All right, that's the way I would have been looking at Joe Biden if he said, I'll give you half your money based on if I win or not. I would say, Joe, what the fuck that got to do with me? No, I want all my money up front. What you do ain't got nothing to do with me. My job is to give you advice. My job is to advise you and consult you and give you information and guidance as to what to do. My information, guidance, and consultation is 100% guaranteed. What you do with it ain't my business. So I want all my money. Mike Donilon should have said, give me $8 million. He should have said, give me $8 million, period. And if you win, great. If you lose, good luck. Now, Joe Biden might have said, well, we want to give you some type of incentive. Now, here's where Mike Donilon was smart. Where Mike Donilon was smart was he got $4 million out of it. Maybe that's all Mike Donilon wanted all along. If you really think about it, this might have been a very smart move by Mr. Mike Donilon, is he maybe just wanted $4 million. That's all he wanted was $4 million. So he said, give me $4 million now and a $4 million bonus. And it kind of subconsciously tricked Joe and Dr. Jill Biden into, oh, well, we only got to get this guy half the money. If we don't win, he doesn't get the other half of the money. So this guy's really incentivized to help us win. That may have tricked them into thinking that, when really all he wanted was $4 million the whole time. So he got his $4 million up front. And if Joe Biden ends up falling all over himself on the debate stage, which he did, Mike Donelon still got his $4 million, whereas Joe and Jill Biden feel like they saved some money because he didn't win. So this might have been an expert play by Mike Donelon. So he might have to get this guy more credit than he is getting right now. So campaigns often tie their pay to milestones, but the size and linkage to a presidential win, that elevates the scrutiny because, again, you have to win. And Mike Donelon, maybe you had to listen to the whole testimony that Mike Donelon gave, which I did not. But maybe he was incentivized to tell Joe Biden, stay in the race, stay in the race, stay in the race. Because Mike Donelon thought, hey, maybe there's a chance that Joe Biden can win as long as he can stay in the race and he doesn't fall all over himself. And I get that $4 million. I mean, $4 million is still a lot of money. All right, XTR, as you said, $4 million is a lot of money. I don't care how much money you got. All right, if Elon Musk is walking down the street and he sees $4 million on the ground, is he going to stop and pick it up? Yes, he is. If Oprah sees it, is she going to pick it up? Yes. If Jeff Bezos, he going to pick it up. Is Bill Gates going to pick it up? Yes. So no matter how much money you got, you see $4 million available and you got a chance to get it, you're going to go get the money. So Mike Donelon, I can't knock your hustle. All right, $4 million, that's a lot of money. He got $4 million, but he missed out on another $4 million because Joe Biden couldn't perform. If I was Mike Donelon, though, I'm making many assumptions here based on I don't know what Mike Donelon was actually thinking. I would have told Mike Donelon, listen, if your real goal was to get $8 million, charge him $6 million up front and then get an incentive of $2 million. I don't want it shouldn't have been 50-50. That's the mistake Mike Donelon made because obviously the Democratic National Committee had plenty of money to throw around in 2024. How you doing? DNC had a lot of money to throw around. So you saw how much money he threw at Mike Donelon. You saw how much money Kamala spent. So what Mike Donelon should have done, since they were willing to give him $4 million for a win, he should have said, give me $6 million and a $2 million bonus, or give me $7 million and a $1 million bonus, or give me 7.5 and a $500,000 bonus. He could have guaranteed more of his money. I like guaranteed money. I like money up front. Right? No amount of work that I'm in, I want my money guaranteed. I want my money up front. My work is guaranteed. Now, what you do with what I give you ain't my business. Again, that's your business. I'm going to help you. But if you don't perform with what I give you, that has nothing to do with the money that you owe me because you're paying me for my expertise. No. You're paying me for my expertise, my knowledge, and my advising. Now, if you don't execute on what I tell you, again, this ain't no daycare. All right, so I'm not responsible for what you did or didn't do with my material. You are responsible for it. You got to take ownership of this. Over here, we call it the 51-49 rule. Now, Donelon's admission undermines the public narrative that advisor advice was purely in the national interest. So this is what they're trying to get. This is what they're trying to hold him accountable to. They're not really getting him. Nothing's going to happen to him. But this concept that his advice as an advisor he was doing it purely in the interest of the United States of America. And what he acknowledged in the testimony was that his personal financial gain aligned with Biden remaining in office. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean he did anything wrong. Again, they're not doing anything wrong. If I work for the Democratic Party, let's say the Democrats, again, 2028, Kamala hires me to be an advisor on her campaign. My work has nothing to do with the national interests. My work is not the national interest. I'm not getting paid by the national. That paycheck that I got, that wire transfer for my $5 million from Kamala Harris's campaign, it doesn't say the national interest. It says advising Kamala Harris. My job is to advise Kamala Harris because that's what I got paid to do. I don't give a damn about the national interest. All right, I'm not paid by the nation. I'm paid by Kamala Harris. So since Kamala Harris is paying me, my job is to serve Kamala Harris. I serve at the pleasure. Miss Harris, what do you need? Okay, sure. You paid that $5 million wire hit? Yes. Okay, whatever you need, you got it. All right, until or unless that wire transfer don't hit, then I don't know you. But if that wire transfer hit, I'm doing whatever it is that you asked me to do. Why? Because that's my job. And that's what I got paid to do. Okay, you keep coming. You come in here like 4 different times crying. What happened?
I want a banana.
I gave you one earlier. You took one bite. You didn't eat the rest. Then I used the rest of it for my protein shake. What happened?
just want a banana.
You're about to have breakfast. You want to eat your breakfast?
I can't have a banana. All I get is markers.
You can't have a banana? Why not?
Because it's delicious making food.
Yeah, because you like to eat.
But I.
Okay, you want a piece of this?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I give this to you, you have to sit here and you have to eat it. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Is it warm?
It's room temperature. It's not warm. We don't do warm bananas. Okay. Is that satisfying?
Yeah.
Okay, now you stay right here. Now, the national interest is not my business if I'm a political advisor. I'm a political consultant. My job is to consult with and advise the candidate who has paid me and help them win. Now, if that happens to help the nation in the process, great. If it doesn't help the nation in the process, so the hell what? Again, I don't work for the nation. People are saying hi to you. I don't work for the nation. I work for the person who hired me. And if it happens to help the nation, great, but that ain't my job. So Donald says the bonus was contingent on Joe Biden being reelected, which we know. And again, nothing wrong with that. Donald Trump had people he paid, I'm sure. We don't know about it. At least it's not a big public story. But I guarantee you, Donald Trump has people on his team who are paid extra the more he succeeds. We just don't know about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is all part of the game of politics. The Democrats do it, the Republicans do it. Now, this does raise, however, or critics say that the footage from this hearing, because some of it got out, I don't know if they put the whole thing out or not, that the footage may be edited selectively. It may not have the full context of his testimony and his contract terms. Of course, we haven't seen his contract. So we know we don't have his full contract terms. We only know what he testified under oath. And technically, he could be lying. I highly doubt it. I mean, he told a truth that probably doesn't make him look good, but who the hell? I don't think he cares about looking good. He's got $4 million from Joe Biden, and Joe Biden didn't even win. So Democrats on the committee described the release as politically manipulated, like trying to make the Democrats look bad. And I would say they're right. It is politically manipulated. Everything that politicians put out is politically manipulated. That's not news. If the Democrats put out something about the Republicans, it's politically manipulated. I guarantee you. I don't even care what it is. If the Republicans put out something about the Democrats, guess what? It's politically manipulated. That's the game. The whole game of politics is manipulation. Manipulation of the narrative, manipulation of the storyline, manipulation of the facts, and manipulations of the frame around which the frame you build around your opponents to make them look bad, and the frame you build around your friends to make them look good. All right, that is the game of politics. So to say this politically manipulated doesn't really mean anything. It sounds nefarious, but you're not actually saying anything. Everything's politically manipulated. So critics trying to argue, critics meaning Democrats, they say this testimony and contract terms are being used to just try to make this guy look bad, make the Democrats look bad. I say you don't have to make them look bad. What happened in 2024 was bad. And if you look at it, then you can see that it was bad. It was bad that Joe Biden and Dr. Jill tried to stay in the race when it was clear that Joe Biden was declining. It was a bad idea that they didn't have any real strategy for how to move forward, being the economy was in bad shape. And anytime a sitting president is going to lose, it's usually because of the economy. Happened to Donald Trump in 2020, happened to Joe Biden in 2024. So it was clear he was in a bad space. They didn't have anything to overcome that. You had all the lawfare they tried to use against Donald Trump that had it worked, then this wouldn't have been a problem. Joe Biden would be in his second term right now had any of that lawfare in 2024 against Donald Trump worked. Had the Alvin Bragg case or the Tish James case or the Jack Smith case or the Fani Willis case, had any one of them worked. I don't mean succeeded, but actually worked. Because technically you got 34 felonies on Donald Trump, technically. Technically, you got a judgment against Donald Trump, Alvin Bragg and Tish James, respectively. The Fani Willis case went nowhere. The Jack Smith case fell apart. Technically, they did get 2 successful outcomes, but it didn't really work because it didn't stop him from running. Had either of those cases worked, had Donald Trump got incarcerated or they found a way to keep him off the ballot in 2024, then Joe Biden would have been running against who? Who would have been the nominee in 2024 for the Republicans had Donald Trump been wiped off? Doesn't matter who it was. They wouldn't have beat Joe Biden. Joe Biden would have won. He'd be in the middle of his term right now. So it's not even a matter of it is a matter of, rather, the Democrats looking bad because they tried something that simply didn't work. So if you try something that doesn't work, you look bad. That's how it works. This is how life goes. You try something that does work, you're a hero and a superstar and a celebrity. You try something and it doesn't work, you're like an idiot and a fool, and you get ridiculed. Joe Biden's going to get ridiculed for time eternal because of how things turned out with him. And it could have went completely different. Could have went completely different. And Kamala would still be vice president. And she could then, this is what could have happened with the Democrats. If y'all really think about this. Let's say one of those cases worked, meaning get Trump wiped off the ballot, incarcerated, jailed, bankrupted, whatever, anything that would have stopped him from running, right? Let's say that happened. Whoever the Republicans put forward in 2024 would have lost. Joe Biden would have won re-election. Kamala Harris would still be the vice president right now. Joe Biden goes into his second term, which would be happening right now. Let's say Joe Biden continues to fail mentally. He decides to bow out gracefully and say, you know what, because of my decline or because of my cancer diagnosis, he has cancer now, right? I'm going to step down because I think it's in the best interest of the American people that I step down. He gracefully steps down. He gets a hero's send-off. And he says, as I'm stepping down, I am more than proud to now anoint Kamala Harris, who was the first black female vice president in the history of America. I'm proud to anoint her as the first female president in the United States of America and the first president of, or the second president of color in the United States of America. He could have made Kamala the president, and Kamala would have actually become president. Had any of that lawfare worked, that's exactly what would have happened. And Kamala might be president right now. Yes.
Daddy.
Yes. Kamala would be president right now because Joe Biden probably would have stepped down by this point, and he could have bowed out very gracefully, and he would have got a hero's exit as opposed to the disgraced exit that he ended up getting because he failed in that debate. And the only reason this didn't happen is because the lawfare didn't work. That's the only reason this didn't happen. So this raises major questions about the cover-up of Biden's cognitive fitness, which I just talked about. Republicans in the House of Representatives suggest that the payout incentive may have delayed withdrawals or any honest assessment. I say, of course it did. Again, if I'm Mike Donovan, I don't care about an honest assessment. I don't care about a withdrawal. I care about my money. I want my $4 million. I don't give a damn about the national interest. I don't give a damn about helping the Democratic Party in general. I care about helping my client. I get paid by Joe Biden. Okay, I'm focused on Joe Biden. If I get paid by the DNC, I care about the DNC. If I get paid by the country, I care about the country. But he was getting paid by Joe Biden. So he has to work for Joe Biden. He serves at the pleasure of $4 million. That's it. He served at the pleasure of that $4 million. And most of you, for $4 million, you would serve at the pleasure. All right. Incentives drive behavior. So oversight investigators are explicitly drawing the link between the money and the delayed action. I say, fine, draw the lines you want. I'll draw the line for you. If I'm Mike Donovan, you want me to draw a line? Give me a pen and paper. I'll draw the line right here in front of all y'all. Here's the line. All right, there's the incentive. Here's the delayed action. Yes, I didn't want Joe Biden to drop out of the race. Yes, I knew he was failing mentally. Yes, I could see he was probably going to lose. Yes, I could see the internal polling numbers that showed he was failing. And guess what? A House Oversight Committee. I still want him to stay in the race. Why? Because I was about to make $4 million fucking dollars. All right, what do you want to do? Take me to jail? Is that a crime? If so, show me the crime. Show me in the law book where I committed a crime. There's nothing really here except this is indeed political theater. That's what this is. This is political theater being played out by the Republicans because they have the power right now to make sure that everybody understands that the Democratic Party faltered and did some stupid things in 2024, which they did. They did three stupid things. Number one, they did the lawfare against Donald Trump, which failed. Number two, they let Joe Biden stay in the race without forcing him out. And number three, when it was clear he had to get out, they just put Kamala in there without finding a better candidate. Those are three dumb things they did in 2024. And what the Republicans are doing right now is making sure that everybody knows about it. That's pretty much what's happening. So they dragged this guy to the House Oversight Committee hearing as if he committed a crime, which he did not. And they're using him as They're using him as a pawn to paint the picture of how dumb the Democrats looked then and how dumb they still look now. And today's election day. So they may not be looking so dumb this time tomorrow if a bunch of Democrats win a bunch of these elections. So we'll see. Now, linking financial incentive to decision-making requires some proof of causation, not just correlation. I've already laid that out. There is correlation. And again, the causation is easy to understand. I want my money. So legal accountability for campaign pay structures is complex and rarely litigated. So many of you have probably heard all different types of politicians talking about campaign finance. Campaign finance is the Wild West. If you want to get into a space where there's a lot of money being thrown around recklessly and you can catch a good amount of it to go into your pocket, get into campaign finance. And that's a good place to go. Become an advisor or a consultant like Mike Donelon and collect a couple $100,000 if you're not at the level where you can get millions. But let's say you can still catch a couple $100,000. Now, it may not be enough to retire on, but it can buy you lunch. Catch a couple $100,000 advising some politician to help them win their election. And to become an advisor and a consultant to a politician, all you got to do is be a little bit smarter than them on a few things. And look at the candidates that we've had over the last 25 years. I don't think that would be hard for many of you. As long as you have the ability to communicate. I could advise Joe Biden very well. I could advise Gavin Newsom very well. I could advise Kamala Harris very well. Don't know who the Republicans are going to be sending in 2028. Maybe I could advise them as well. I think Democrats could use my help a little bit more. And I'll gladly take the money. Now, give me $800,000. Give me $1 million. So you gave Mike Donelon $4 million. Give me $1 million. Okay. Give me a 75% discount. I'll give you a 75% discount on Mike Donelon, but I need that $1 million. I need it up front, and there are no contingencies to my money. That's non-negotiable. So legal accountability for campaign pay structures, as I said, is complex, is rarely litigated. They don't chase after this stuff. So there are laws for damn near everything in America. The question in America is not about if there's a law for something or if somebody violated the law. The question is, does anybody give a damn that the law may have been violated? And if so, is anybody going to do anything about it? Those are the actual two questions of the justice system in the United States of America. Let me say that again for those of you who didn't catch it. Maybe you weren't paying attention. The question in America is not whether or not somebody violated the law or possibly violated the law. A lot of you tend to think, you look at things in these black and white ways like, oh, well, hey, somebody maybe violated the law or somebody did violate the law. Something has to happen to them. They have to be held accountable. They have to be brought to justice, right? That's not really how it works. The way the justice system in America works is, number one, does anybody care that the law was possibly violated? And number two, if you do care, are you going to do anything about it? Those are the two things that matter. And if the answer to both of those questions is yes and yes, then you get arraignments, indictments, lawsuits, criminal cases. If the answer to either one of those questions is no, i.e. nobody cares, or B, people care, but they're not going to do shit, then nothing happens. That's how it goes in the justice system in America. And some of you may be wondering, maybe even commenting right now, that if you are a known entity, you have a lot of resources and or a lot of friends in the right places, then you have a better chance of getting a no to either one of those questions than if you're just some nobody regular person. Is this true? Absolutely, it's true. If you have resources, and resources can include money, access, time in the game, a resume, relationships. If you have any of these resources and you did something that looks like it might be crossing the legal line, you have a better chance of people either not caring or doing nothing about it than if you're a nobody and you did something that crosses the legal line. I think we all know this inherently, and many of you have probably said this consciously many times in your life. Yes, this is how it works. This is the system when it comes to justice in the United States of America. Now, again, nothing we're talking about here is really about anything being violated. All this guy did was charge Joe Biden a consulting fee. Joe Biden agreed and he paid it. What's the crime? There is none. Now, public trust is taking a hit. Polls show that a majority of Republicans and a growing share of independents believe that this revelation confirms that there was a cover-up. I say, you need a poll for that? Let me help everybody out. There was a cover-up in 2024 about Joe Biden's mental decline. Is anybody unsure about that? Is this still a mystery to anybody? Was there a cover-up about Joe Biden's mental state in the summer of 2024? Of course there was a cover-up. We know there was a cover-up. We know it was being covered up because it got all the way to the point that, first of all, Joe Biden, as acting sitting president, was never talking to the media. He was never available for press availability. Donald Trump talks to the press more in a week than Joe Biden did in 4 years. He was never available to the press. He was doing a lot of his work from his home. He had Jill Biden, who was not elected to anything and was not appointed to anything. She was running cabinet meetings, and she's not even a member of the cabinet. She's running things. It was clear that Joe Biden was failing. He was still claiming that he was going to run in 2024. Nobody could stop him because he technically was the president, so he had the power. Nobody could really make him get out. They could advise him or try to suggest, but he didn't want to. They sent Nancy Pelosi. They sent Kamala to try to say it softly, but she was working for him. She couldn't say shit. They sent Barack Obama. He couldn't get through to him. Nobody wanted to listen. Joe Biden didn't want to listen to anybody. He was listening to himself, which he had a right to do because he was president. And then when he went and had that debate, the thing that we all have been saying for months or a year and a half at that point, been about a year and a half, that was clear Joe Biden was falling off. That debate put it on the national stage. You can't say it's fake. You can't say it's a deep fake or a cheap fake, Karine Jean-Pierre. You can't say that this is AI, which is what a lot of people on the political left were saying. You can't say that they're just talking shit and they're editing video. See, all of those things they have been saying for about a year and a half. They're editing the videos. These are cheap fakes. This is AI. This is not real. They're taking it out of context. Joe Biden is very cogent. They were saying all this stuff until he was on a national stage on a debate and everybody in the world saw it and you couldn't pretend that it didn't happen. That's when it was obvious what we already knew. So was there a cover-up? Of course there was a cover-up. Of course there was a cover-up. But a cover-up is not a crime, technically, depending on what you're covering up. It just made the Democrats look stupid. And they still look stupid because, again, as of the end of the night tonight, things may change. You MAGA supporters, you Republicans, you conservatives, don't get cocky. Tonight might be a wake-up call for the political right. I'm talking to citizens, not the politicians. If the Democrats sweep a lot of these elections here tonight, this could be a signal of a shift heading into the 2026 midterms. Because as they say, what happens in these elections usually is a bellwether for what's going to happen at this time next year. But we'll get to that. Now, was there a cover-up? I think we all can agree there was a cover-up. I don't think this is even a news item to say that there was a cover-up. But 78% of surveyed Republicans say there was a cover-up. I don't know how it's only 78%. It should be 100%. Now, Democrats may deny it, but why are Republicans denying it? 78% should be 100%. Anyway, institutional reform remains elusive. I already told you how institutional reform will happen, and it's not going to be pretty. So even if wrongdoing is confirmed here, prosecution of senior campaign advisors is not going to happen. Who's going to do the prosecuting? Because there are campaign advisors on the other side too. So the deterrence effect is limited. And again, what are they deterring him from doing? I don't see what he did. He didn't do anything wrong. He was just trying to get his money. So you may think what he did was technically wrong, but was it legally wrong? Absolutely not. And what can you prosecute him for? Because he covered up or helped cover up that Joe Biden was failing. Joe Biden is the one who said, I'm going to run for president. So if you're going to hold anybody accountable, you got to hold Joe Biden accountable. How are you going to hold him accountable? He said he wanted to run for president. The American people said, okay. There were other Democrats who could have tried to primary him. Nobody tried. And he was the nominee. Where's the crime? Show me. So the Oversight Committee is scheduling more hearings this month. Subpoenas for other high-level aides, people I've never heard of. People like Steve Ricchetti, Ron Klain. These are all people collecting millions of dollars as advisors. Again, y'all never heard of these people. So you want to make millions of dollars and have nobody know who you are, be an advisor to some president, and you collect a bunch of money. And potential referrals to the Department of Justice for fraud or obstruction. So this is what they're saying, possibly, that these guys can get charged with fraud or obstruction. I say these would be nothing burger charges if they did it. These would be thin as tissue paper. And these guys, I mean, Mike Donilon got $4 million. He can afford a lawyer that will get rid of this one pretty easily. I don't think this goes anywhere. So documents reveal that other aides had win bonus clauses while dealing with major policy and fitness decisions. I say, so what? Joe Biden hired them and said, I'll give you a bonus if I win. And I want you to advise and help me win. It's like if I did something like, let's say Mike Tyson in his prime years. And I say, I'm going to get in a fight with Mike Tyson. I hire a bunch of trainers and I pay them a bunch of money to help me get in a fight with Mike Tyson. Can you bring them to court and hold them accountable if I go in there and get my head knocked off by Mike Tyson? No, because I hired them to help me fight Mike Tyson. Now, if I end up losing and I was never competent enough to even have a chance in the first place, it's not their fault. I hired them to help me. I want you to help me win this fight. All right, you want the money or not? Okay. So the broader media ecosystem is split on this. Conservative outlets say this is a validation of the narrative of corruption. I don't think this is corruption. I think it's just a cover-up of a person who was just drunk on his own ambition, Mr. Biden. And he decided he wanted to run again, even though I don't know if he knew. He probably didn't have a chance, and he didn't. Now, mainstream media outlets say it's unproven until full documents and testimonies are released. I say we don't need any full documents. We don't need any full testimonies. We already know what happened here. And what happens is the mainstream media and the outlets that are leaning to the right, they're trying to make it seem like this is some kind of crime when it's really not. This is just information. This is really what it is. Now, CNN and MSNBC said this is a serious situation, but an incomplete situation. I say it's not that serious, but it is complete. I say it's the exact opposite. It's not that serious. What's serious about it? Joe Biden paid a bunch of money to somebody to help him win. He didn't win. How is that? What's serious? What's the issue? And they say it's incomplete. It is incomplete because technically we don't have all the information, but what other information do we need? He testified under oath that that's what happened. Okay. So this is not just about a bonus contract, some said. It said it punctures the faith in the system when strategic advisors stand to gain millions of dollars if a president stays in power, irrespective of performance. I say this is nonsense. I say to that argument, that's nonsense. If I'm a dating coach and you come to me and you say, hey, Jerry, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I want to be in a committed relationship. I just want to meet as many women as possible and have sex with as many of them as possible. And I want you to help me do that. If I accept your money and I accept that I'm going to help you do what you told me that you wanted to do, I'm not doing anything ethically wrong because, again, it's not illegal what you asked to do. And if I can help you find women who are willing to go along with your plan, then so be it. Who did something wrong here? Nobody. All right. You are willing and this is what you want to do. You have women out there who are with it and they want to go do it. I'm just helping you do it. This is it. Everybody, these are all consenting adults. What's the problem? So this is the same thing here. And they're trying to make this seem like it's a bigger thing just because it happens to be with the political system. And people in politics tend to want to make whatever they're focused on seem like a bigger deal than it actually is. And gaining millions if a president stays in power, I say, so what? Okay. I helped you win. You stayed in power. I got paid a whole bunch of money for helping you stay in power. Great. Congratulations. Congratulations on your win. You can't run for president again, but if you need me to advise you on anything in the process of your 4 years in office, Mr. President, feel free to call me. You got a pretty good idea what my rates are. You call me when you got that money, and we'll keep it moving. And if they don't call me, that's good. I got $8 million to chill with. I'm all right. So this is the way I'm seeing it. I don't know if any of you see it differently from this. So procedural fairness is still key. Donilon's admission is, again, just a piece of the story, not the entire story. Viewers got to remember that there is due process involved, contracts if it matters, and legal definitions of misconduct. I don't see how you can get this guy on misconduct. And if anybody's guilty of misconduct, it would have to be Joe Biden. Is Joe Biden getting prosecuted? I highly doubt it. All that said, everybody, I think I can pass on the bathroom break today. Let's get straight into the comments. As far as this situation goes with Mr. again, Mike Donilon. Let's see if we can pull a picture of Mike Donilon one more time. The guy we're talking about here today is this guy right here, Mike Donilon. He was a senior advisor to former President Joe Biden, who he just testified on under oath to the House Oversight Committee that he was being paid $4 million as a retainer and a $4 million potential bonus if Joe Biden was to win the 2024 election. And again, all fair game as far as I'm concerned. I will collect the money too. So Mike Donilon, congratulations on getting that $4 million out of Joe Biden. He might be the last person to get it. Now, over on YouTube, Agnes Lorigan said, there is no law anymore. It's a damn shame. Well, there is law. It just depends on for who. If you break a law, Agnes, there's a law for you. Now, it depends on who you're talking about. Agnes said, Jill is not a doctor. If it had gone to higher education to become an attorney or a doctor, I'd be mad as hell for what has been allowed to degrade what's happened. So when I keep saying Dr. Jill Biden, I'm saying it in a sarcastic way. Yes, I know she's not an actual doctor. I believe she has a doctorate degree, but that is not colloquially what we mean when we say somebody's a doctor. I understand that. I'm just saying it I'm being tongue in cheek when I say Dr. Jill Biden. As you are coming in on TikTok, or if you're already in on TikTok, please like the live. We're at 50,000 likes, folks. We're lagging a little bit. We usually do 100,000 here. Can we get up to 100,000 likes here today? Thank you for the lightning bolts, Kim, DP, and Leah. BK said she will lose again. Well, I think she's going to lose in the primaries. That's what I see what happened with Kamala. I believe she's going to run. I believe her book tour is nearly coming to a close. Let's see how Kamala's book tour is going. Any of you been to one of Kamala's book tour dates? Has any of you been to a Kamala book tour date? I'm looking up her book tour. We talked about this a few weeks ago. So she did September, October. Let's see, Atlanta, DC. That was late October. She went to London. Then she was in LA last week. Then she did. No, her tour is not over yet. There's a couple dates on here that, for whatever reason, it's not showing. So on November the 4th, today, guess where Kamala's going to be today? She will be in. Where is this? Kamala has an event today for those of you who want to make last minute plans. If you don't have anything else going on, she's going to be at the Benaroya Hall in Seattle, Washington, on 200 University Street in Seattle tonight. Anybody in Seattle? You need something to do tonight? There are tickets available to see Kamala Harris. $106 for a standard ticket. $106 for a standard ticket if you want to see Kamala Harris tonight at, how do we get out of here? You want to see Kamala Harris tonight in Seattle. Then she has another event coming up. This one's not opening. She has another one coming up that, for whatever reason, the website's not opening. She's going to be at the Chevalier Theater with Brookline Booksmith on November the 15th. So that's about a week and a half from now. Then she's going to be in another place. The locations are not shown on the website, so I'm clicking in it so I can see it. So November the 16th, so she's hustling. Kamala's hustling. She's going to Toronto. November the 16th, she will be in Toronto speaking at Meridian Hall. So I want to see Kamala at Meridian Hall, Toronto, November the 16th. Then November the 18th, she'll be in Nashville, Tennessee. I know we got some Tennessee people in here. She'll be at the Ryman Auditorium, November the 18th. Then Thursday, November the 20th, she will be at the Adrian Arts Center in Miami. And that's not far from me. It's actually walking distance from me. So she'll be at the Adrian Arts Center in Miami on November the 20th. Prices run from $72 to $472. Any of you got $472 laying around, you're not sure what to do with it, give it to Kamala Harris. And she will entertain you by talking about her 107 days. Tomorrow, is this tomorrow? Yeah, so, well, that's today. Today, her book tour, she's going to have Miss Angela Rye, who is a hardcore paid Democrat. Angela Rye, she sometimes appears on the Breakfast Club. She will be the host, I guess, with Kamala in Seattle, Washington tonight. So any of you, if Kamala Harris is not a good enough reason for you to go, you can go there to see Angela Rye in Seattle tonight, Kamala Harris's book tour. Now, I believe Kamala is going to run for president again in 2028. I don't think she has anything else to do. And I don't think she's going to take a step backwards and go back to Congress. And I think she's going to lose in primaries to Gavin Newsom. That's my prediction. Kingsley said, how much Musk push on Trump pushing lotteries and all sort of corruption? I don't know if it's corruption. I think it's just the game of campaigning. I wouldn't call it corruption. It's just the game. Sergio D, thanks for the follow. Turner Frank, thanks for the claps. Lee said, good morning. Please tap as you come up. Let's get to 100K likes. Yes, good idea, Lee. Thank you, Leah. Thank you. Turn the volume up. Sergio D said, facts on some of what you're saying, but let's be serious. They couldn't see a woman as POTUS. Well, first of all, Sergio, who is they? Clarify who they is. And what I'll say, Sergio, is I see you're agreeing with some of what I'm saying, but this frame that a lot of people have put out there. I've seen a lot of black folks put this out there. I've seen a lot of females put this out there. And I've seen a lot of even white men put this frame out there that the reason Kamala didn't win is because people are either racist or sexist. And I understand that argument, it's a hard one to challenge simply because Kamala is a female and she is a person of color. And there hasn't been a female president before. We've only had one person of color, which is Barack Obama. But Kamala is a female person of color, which some say that makes it doubly hard for people to support. While there is an argument for that, and there's no way to prove it or disprove that argument, at the same time, I'll say my frame, Sergio. My background is as a professional athlete. And in the sports world, we have a scoreboard. The scoreboard is black and white telling you the truth of what happened. And sports is a performance-based business. Life is a performance-based business. Performance-based business means you are judged on your performance, and is also a results-based business, meaning you're judged on your outcomes. So Kamala Harris losing, whether it's coming from the mouth of Kamala or you or anybody else who supports her, to say that, well, the reason that she didn't win is because people wouldn't vote for her because she's a female, or they wouldn't vote for her because she is a person of color. I call bullshit on that and say you lost because you just lost. You lost because the candidate you ran against got more votes than you, period. And for anybody to try to make it into, oh, well, it's an identity thing. Well, technically it is an identity thing because you win elections because more people like you than like your opponent, regardless of whether you're male, female, black, white, tall, short. That's how you win elections. So Kamala needs to be judged by the same scale that everybody else is judged on, Sergio. And the scale is you either won or you didn't win. No, oh, well, the only reason I lost is because. No, the only reason you lost is because you lost, period. And because the last time I checked, Sergio, Kamala Harris is still a person of color and she's still a female. So if she runs again, what's she going to do? Is that going to be the excuse again? And also, if this is her frame, that the only reason I didn't win is because, or her supporters, she hasn't said it in so many words. She can't because she will look extremely weak. And she probably believes it, but she can't say it. If her supporters' frame is the only reason she lost because she's a person of color and she's female, again, if those immutable characteristics have not changed by 2028, what is she running for? So any of you who's a supporter of Kamala, if this is your argument, why is she running again? Because she ain't not going to be female. She's not going to be a person of color. So is this going to be the excuse again? If so, stop wasting time. Stop wasting everybody's breath and energy and campaign donation dollars and get out of the way so somebody who doesn't have an excuse can run for the nomination. So I see what you're saying, but I reject this line of reasoning. It's a childish line of reasoning that people are using as a excuse for Kamala, the same thing they used for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Like, if you get in the ring, you might get hit in the face. It's not, oh, well, you can't hit me in the face because I'm a woman. Don't get in the ring. And getting hit in the face meaning getting beat by whoever. Kingsley said he pushing focus on Biden shielding Trump enormous corruption and destruction of America. What do you mean by that? Kingsley said critical thinking people do not like MAGA and think independently, focus on Trump destruction. Okay, so congratulations to you, Kingsley.
Strawberry cheesecake. Is that like a personal attack or something?
You get the first straw man of the day. That's a strawberry cheesecake. That is when you take a point and you reframe it into something that wasn't said in order to make an easier argument for yourself. And then you get the ad hominem. Ad hominem is you saying that critical thinking people do not be like MAGA. So you're saying anyone who is MAGA, clearly it must not be a critical thinker. That's ad hominem. That's a personal attack to avoid a logical argument. And then you are saying that the focus is on Biden instead of Trump's destruction, when the topic here today is on Joe Biden, is not, well, we got to talk about Donald Trump, so here's an excuse to not talk about him. No, this is just a topic that I chose. So that's the reason why you get those two awards. Congratulations, Kingsley. Leah said the debate was pretty bad. The debate was worse than pretty bad. It was disastrous, the end of his career. So that's what you call pretty bad. All right, fine. Ashley Mack said it would be nice to have accountability for those that use the auto pen without Biden's knowledge. Well, I think Biden had knowledge of the auto pen being used. It's just he wasn't supposed to be using it for certain things. Noel said campaign ethics need to come from a neutral party or an agency that is not attached to the nominee. Well, good luck getting anybody to enforce that. Noel, I get what you're saying, but I don't think that's happening. Silky Slim said, what are your MAGA, I think it's supposed to say MAGA, it says mega buddies in line not wearing their red hats? I don't quite know what you're saying there, but
is that like a personal attack or something?
I get the ad hominem. It sounds like you're trying to make an ad hominem sarcastic point, but this is grammatically, it fails. Dawn, good morning. Kate BC, thanks for the heart. Dawn said, what will be their strategy with no Trump next election? LOL. Well, that's a question that the Democrats have yet to answer. But again, these elections happening tonight may be a sign of what the people are ready for, regardless of their strategy. And 2026 is often reflected by what happens in this election in between years. Kingsley said, MAGA are enraged people that have no ability to think independently. They listen to Drifter. And all right, we get your position there, Kingsley. You already got it. You already got the ad hominem award for this. So you got to come up with something else. Laura said he was probably funneling money back to Biden. Interesting. Maybe that could be. Now, if he was doing that, then that changes this conversation. My Michael Lynn said, "Oh, I'm here for this topic today. Good morning. Good morning." We said, "Yes, please tap the screen." Cheryl Harris said, "You should be looking at your viewers." What does that mean? Liz Pell said, "This example is apples to oranges." How so? Liz said, "If you are in business, you are working within guardrails. Technically, you're working within guardrails, but who makes the guardrails and who enforces them? Liz, that's the question you actually should be asking, not if there are guardrails. Who makes the guardrails and who enforces the guardrails? If those answers don't line up, then it really doesn't matter that they're guardrails now, does it?" Nathan Don said, "You don't watch movies." I do not. XDR said 4 mil is 4 mil. That's correct. And Tammy said $20 is $20. That's also correct. Nathan said, "This ain't no daycare, your kids." And I said, "This ain't no daycare as your kids come in the room." Yeah, this is still not a daycare. Stay True said, "Dems should have told America they would take money from their donors and split with Americans would have won." Well, it depends on how much money we're talking, but I get what you're saying. Ashley said, "I just realized I haven't seen you pop up in a while. Good morning." Ashley, the only reason you couldn't have seen me pop up in a while is because you are not following me on TikTok and you don't have your notifications on. And you must clearly not know, Ashley, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So you shouldn't have to see me pop up. It should be part of your normal routine and process. So congratulations on finding me again. But in the future, let's not let this happen anymore, because you'll be following and you know that it's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Now, this week, I'm going to be away for the rest of this week, but I'll be back on Monday. So this week, it won't be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but next week, we're back on a normal schedule. Donnie Love, good morning. Stay True. He's cute. He just wants a banana. Yeah, I think he's about to eat his breakfast, so he was denied a banana out there, so he came in here to appeal to me. I eat bananas a lot, so I have some sitting here on my desk. Thank you, XTR. Erica B, good morning. Angie, good morning. Butterfly Nails, good morning. Duke's mom, good morning. Hey, it's us said, "How can you hold that beautiful baby and not want to try to make the world a better place?" Well, hey, it's us. I will tell you that my son consistently corrects me if I make the mistake of referring to him as a baby. He said, "I'm not a baby, I am a boy." So he's not a baby anymore. He's a boy. Yes, he was hungry. Ashley said, "I doubt anyone has paid millions, though, just for an election. He was supposed to get like 12 million plus." Well, then the plot would thicken if we find out that there's a different way that money was moved around. Based on what we know, he just got paid $4 million as an advisor, which is a hell of a deal. I would say Mike Donelon is a hell of a salesperson. If he got that just straight up, $4 million up front, even the $4 million up front, if he didn't get a bonus, is a hell of a deal. His campaign advisors don't usually get that kind of money, from what I heard. So him getting that kind of money is a very good sales job by Mike Donelon. I got to find out how he did it, if anything. XTR said, "Democrats don't need help looking bad." Yeah, they do, because there's a bunch of people who are Democrat supporters who will say the Republicans look bad. Will said, "Another great session with Logic Thinking. Thank you, Will Vilas. Have you joined the Power Presence Protocol yet?" Agam said, "Democrats do nothing but lie about Republicans, and Republicans just tell the truth about Democrats." Agam, I can't go that far. Can't do that.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
I'm not a big fan of the Democrats, but we can't just say that all they do is lie and that the Republicans only tell the truth. That's a stretch. That's a stretch. I think all politicians lie. And of course, they tell more egregious lies about their opponents, because that's the game that we're in. It's part of the game. Texas John says, "Except for the truth, we are actually seeing with our own eyes what the Dems are doing right now." Well, there's a lot of things going on. So what are you referring to? Wifey Tips, good morning. Faith Willetta Small said, "Both of these parties are jacked. Better focus on white supremacy culture." What's white supremacy? What does that mean when you say white supremacy culture? I agree with the first part, but then you said better focus on white supremacy culture. I don't know that part. What does that mean? Clint X Rod, thanks for the follow. Ray Mara 1968, thank you for the share. Tammy said, "It doesn't make sense that a felon can be president, but felon can't work at Dollar General store." Well, that's kind of a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Technically, Tammy, a felon can work anywhere if the job looks into the details of the felony conviction and decides, okay, we can still have this person work there. Now, it makes it harder, but you can technically work anywhere as a felon. It is generally harder, though, because you are often screened out just because you have the felony, as opposed to other people who don't have a felony. And the felon, Donald Trump being president, this is also a straw man simply because of the way those felonies came to be. We all know that those charges that Donald Trump got are, first of all, the statute of limitations would usually have been up on those. Secondly, those generally are charged as misdemeanors. And third, they never become the big news item that they became simply because of who the person was. Fourth, the person who did it, they weaponized the justice system by saying my whole platform is I'm going to go after Donald Trump. And people incentivized and invested in that prosecutor doing exactly that. This is the Alvin Bragg case that we're talking about right here. And here's a reason why somebody got 34 felony convictions, technically, and still didn't get any jail time because the charges were nonsense from the beginning. Even the judge knew that. So for you to say that this is a felon becoming president, but a felon can't work at Dollar General, this is like a triple straw man in one statement. So I'm going to give you 2 more strawberry cheesecakes. That's 2.
Strawberry cheesecake.
There's your 3rd strawberry cheesecake. And because of that, because you got 3 fallacies in one statement, you get the Russell Westbrook triple-double award of the day.
Oh, baby, a triple. Oh, yeah.
Naturally, Brittany said, who was not voted for in the primary. Good to see you in here, Brittany. Hadn't seen you in a while. Stedman said, little man hungry. Yeah, he's eating breakfast right now, so he'll be all right. And yes, well, technically what people say about Kamala is that because she was the VP to Biden and Biden won the primary, then technically she won the primary. So transitive property. Wifey Tips, thank you for the lightning bolt. XTR said, thank God that did not happen. It could have happened. Very close. Bo Walt says, still is and would have been a disaster. Yeah, well, it could have been a disaster, but it would have happened. It would have been a disaster that occurred. So that's what it would have been. R. Philly Inc. said, I didn't think he would finish that banana. Good job. He deserves a clap on the board. No, bananas are easy to digest quickly. I usually eat bananas for my workouts in the morning because they digest pretty quickly and they're easy to eat on the move. Mahek said, exemplary paternal skills. Well, thank you. Laura said, thank God she didn't become president. It was very close. Let's say Donald Trump had gotten sentenced to jail or Jack Smith had been able to move that case forward quicker and Donald Trump went to jail. He wouldn't have won the election. Biden would have won re-election. Biden would have stepped down. Kamala would have become president. Easy as that. That simple. Marcus said Kamala winning would have been the end of democracy for real. No, she wouldn't have had to win. Joe Biden would have won, and then he would have stepped down and just named. She would have automatically become the president because she's the vice president. That's what would have happened. Had he stepped down while he was still president in 2023, Kamala would have been president then, and she would have been running as an incumbent. She would have had a better chance of winning than had she had only 107 days. I think she would have had a better chance running as an incumbent than the way that she did. Now, in between that, had Biden said, I'm just not going to run for re-election, let's have a primary, I don't think Kamala would have won that primary. But had she been the incumbent president, then she wouldn't have had to go through the primary because nobody would have challenged her as the incumbent. They would have just stayed quiet, and then she would have ran against Trump with a full campaign. I think she would have had a better chance then. I don't think she would have won, but I think she would have had a better chance than what she ended up getting. DFL said, no, I do not. Not basketball. Lady Liberty said, truth. Thank you. Bowalt said, stop crying already. Joe Walsh, Trump won and is a 10-time better. I'm crying about it.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Eloy Lopez said, now we are all paying for it. Paying for what? Rick Thomas said, tapping is clapping. Yes, tapping is clapping. Tap the screen, folks. We're at 91,000 likes. DJ Dynamite said, what's today's topic? We're talking about Democrats covering up Joe Biden's decline in 2024 through the lens of a campaign advisor receiving $4 million, potentially $8 million to advise Joe Biden. And basically he was financially incentivized to keep Joe Biden in the race, even though it may have been clear Joe Biden didn't have a chance to win. Nurse J. Beasy said, I think I could assist you. I'll bring the comedy and tactical skills. Assist me with what? Brooke Martella, good morning. Thanks for the greeting heart and the heart me. Blue, thank you for the follow. Fifth Element, thanks for the heart. Nurse J. Beasy, thanks for the share. Take a ride with time, thanks for the reposts. Leah said, falling off bikes. Yeah, I remember that. Karina said, biggest joke of our lifetime. Well, see, people say that about every politician. People say it about Trump. People say it about Biden. Terica Martin, thanks for the heart. 100 said, Joe Biden was on the cognitive decline long before 2024. I agreed. He was on, well, everybody technically is on a cognitive decline. Joe Biden was on a public cognitive decline long before 2024. Nurse JB said, I never knew that. XCR said, he made America look ridiculous. Super Showy, thanks for the follow. XCR said, they should prosecute the whole DNC, though. That's not going to happen. Too many people in the DNC have friends all over the political spectrum. You got to remember, they prosecute the whole DNC. What's going to happen when the Democrats have power? They're going to do the same thing to the RNC. So I don't think we want to go down that slippery slope. Karina said, I wouldn't have picked VP Trump to be VP if I didn't think she was not qualified to be president. I wouldn't have picked VP Trump to be VP. Yeah, I think you're referring to Kamala. I think Biden said something like that. Is that what you're quoting? Terica said Biden was incompetent. Well, at the end of his administration, he was. But at the beginning, he was fine. He was Joe Biden. He was fine at that time, and the American people did vote for him. Van, thanks for the follow. Miss Mom said, whose job is it to ensure mental capacity? It's hard to quantify, so I don't think it's anyone's job because it's very difficult to quantify mental capacity. And then it said, you did it, Joe. You answered the questions. Yeah, pretty much. XTR said the bigger crime is Kamala spending all that money. Well, it was her money to spend. And she spent it. At least she didn't leave any bullets in the chamber. They spent all the money, mostly on Democratic influencers. But and if you want to make some money, become a Democratic influencer. Well, you should have been one in 2024. They threw a lot of money around last year. Now, I think it's become more obvious that shit doesn't work the way that it used to, so they may not throw around as much next time around. They'll still throw some money around, but not the same amount. Happiness Now said, crime is the physician saying Biden was fit as a president or fit to run. Again, fitness is very subjective. So how do you quantify it? Annie said, was it like insider trading? No. Nathan said, but if you know that he's a bad person, he hurts those women, and you still help him. Who are you talking about? Custom 69, thanks for the follow. Lost my spot in the comments. No, let's catch up. Stephen Albert said, blessings, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. Good to see you, Stephen Albert. Thanks for the Go Popular. CC Ruiz, thanks for the heart. O Skins, thanks for the Go Popular. Shannon Archer, thanks for the share. Elena M said, I don't think I've seen one. Seen one what? Michelle Hall, thanks for the heart. Steven said he is not defending the actions. He's putting in perspective legal and moral negotiation. Yes, I think you're talking about me. If you are, you're correct. Marky said, I took my Kamala book tour this morning. What does that mean? Steven said, I'm in Portland, Oregon. I wouldn't waste the gas money. Well, you're not that far from Seattle, right? You're only a few hours. What are you, about 3-4 hours from Seattle? What about Angela Rye? Is that good enough reason? Stephen Albert said, the yellow school bus, yeah, those wheels don't go round for Kamala Harris. Well, speaking of school bus, she's the one who said the busing comments about Joe Biden hurt her as a black person. Oskin said, America has more to gain with Gretchen Whitmer instead of Harris or Newsom. I think Gretchen Whitmer's pretty much done. Oskins. So maybe you're right, but I don't think she has a chance to win. Kay said, we'll see what you have to say what you all have to say when she loses to Newsom. Well, I've already predicted she's going to lose to Newsom. So I think we're going to be saying the same things. She's not getting past Gavin Newsom in a primary. Sarah L., thanks for the share. Stephen said, countries around the world would not take it seriously after this Biden cover-up. I don't know about that. I mean, America's still America. We still got the power. The power is still the power. Presidents come and go. Notice in other countries, the leaders stay around for decades, whereas in America, it's only 4 or 8 years at a time. Tara said, the left is delusional, period. Well, people on the left say the same thing about the right. Oskin said, folks are simply not accepting that Miss Harris is a polarizing figure who is not well liked. Yeah, she's just not a good politician on the presidential level. She's a good politician on the levels that she was at before. On the congressional level, she's good enough. But on the presidential level, she's not there. Dale Gas, Texas says she wouldn't do anything different from Biden. Yeah, it was a bad answer. She shouldn't have said that. Mechi Bunny said, do you like dancing? Me personally? Not really. Larry Arizona said, Kamala was never popular. Well, she was popular with her base. I mean, she's popular enough. She got 20 million followers on X. I mean, you can't say she's not popular. Now, as far as presidentially, she wasn't popular enough because she needed to pull some people from the other side of the aisle or people who were indifferent to vote for her. She was unable to do that, which is why she lost all the swing states. She wasn't able to pull some indifferent voters to her side. Donald Trump was able to pull some indifferent people to his side. That's why he won. Carol Fitzgerald, thank you for the follow. Karina, thanks for the goat. Chandel, thanks for the follow and the repost. Cash Flow Mel, thank you for the follow. He said they thought they were going to be able to get away with it. They almost did. I mean, it wasn't that big of a gap. They almost did. Leah said, I actually wonder if that was going to happen. I thought he would step down and name her POTUS. He could have done it in 2023 or 2024. Had he done that, again, I would have gained Kamala a lot more momentum than what she had to work with. She had to start from zero. So in that sense, I give Kamala some grace for losing. I don't think she was a good candidate no matter how much time she had, but she would have had a better chance had she been the incumbent president. And they would have made history by making her into president. Clearly, Joe Biden didn't want to walk away. I think what Joe Biden's plan was let's win in 2024, get a second term, and then I'll do like a year and a half of this or 2 years of this, then step down and let Kamala take the spot, and then Kamala can just take it from there. I think that was his plan. If I'm thinking how he might be thinking, I'm thinking maybe that's what he was going to do. Because if he stepped down in 2023, now that would have shown him only having 3 years himself. And let's say Kamala wins in 2024, Joe Biden's sitting there like, damn, I could have had 4 more years. I could have strung this out a lot longer than I actually did. So I think he just overplayed his hand. But this is all theory. Maybe he wasn't thinking any of this. Marky said, Kamala Pruitt takes a lot of big handouts to get to $1 billion. Well, a lot of that money, believe it or not, comes from small donations. She did get some big ones, but a lot of that money comes from small donors, $5, $10, $20 from everyday people. Farina said, LOL, Biden called the VP Trump instead of Kamala. Oh, is that what you're saying? Is that what he said? Okay. Jaquita Smith, thank you for the share. Echo said, late to the show, but tapping while picking up a Walmart order for a client. All right, shout out to people picking up Walmart. Nathan Don said, I'm talking about somebody taking money to try and reelect somebody. Well, it depends on how they did it. And then you relate it to getting somebody dates. Okay. Jennifer Stewart said, God help us if Whitmer runs, she ruined Michigan. Right now, she's not in the picture. The polls that I've seen has Newsom number 1, Kamala's up there, Pete Buttigieg is up there, and AOC's up there. That's pretty much it. That's right now the top 4. Leah said, can anyone help with the live goal? Yes, good question. Me and Nicole, thank you for the lightning bolt. Linda said, no one took Harris serious. She laughed too much. Well, we can't say no one. She has a fan base. Kamala Harris has fans. Echo said, time to drive again. We made the daily goal. Y'all have a fabulous day. Appreciate you. Echoes 9711. You just said, look at the other countries. They're letting illegals in, destroying their country. Yeah, other countries are doing that, and it's not a good idea. Bridget said, why are we still talking about Biden? Because he was just the president, and it was just a House Oversight Committee hearing talking literally about Biden. So we is the American people because we voted for these people in Congress, and the people in Congress are talking about Biden. So hopefully it answers your question. Miles Adamick, thanks for the share. Stephen Albert, thank you for the lightning bolt. Barb S. said, Newsom was on TV and said he does not lie, LOL. Well, every politician said they don't lie. What are they going to tell you, that they do lie? They ain't got no choice. So, book of the day, the third day, the decision that separates the pros from the amateurs. If you don't have this book already, make sure you get it. I give you this book for free. We just ask that you cover the shipping. Go to thirddaybook.com. This book is all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it on those days that you really don't feel like being at work. You don't feel like doing your job. You don't really feel like doing anything. You really rather just go to bed or go lay on the beach, but you still have to do your job as a professional because you're getting paid to do it. The third day is about how you show up on those days and deliver over and over and over again so that you are a true professional. You perform to the best of your abilities regardless of how you feel. Thirddaybook.com. Again, the book is free. Just cover the shipping. Again, it's thirddaybook.com. Or you just text the number 3 to the number in my profile. My number is 305-384-6894. Text the number 3. We'll send you a link to get the book. So I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, everybody. As I already told everyone, I will be away for the rest of this week, but I'll be back on Monday. So I won't be alive the rest of this week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will not be alive, but I'll be back on Monday am I going to be here Friday? No, I won't be here Friday. So I'll be back on Monday. Monday will probably be catching up on anything that happens between now and Monday, which things that we don't know about. And also, or because I do one topic a day. We'll be talking about these elections. So we got the New York City election, mayor. We got the Jersey governor election. We got the Virginia governor election. And there's several other elections happening today. There's a bunch of elections happening all over the country here today. But these are big things. Let's see. New York, New Jersey, VA. Oh, California's having that redistricting vote thing happening. Did y'all hear that Dick Cheney passed away? Dick Cheney passed away at age 84. I believe this happened yesterday or this morning. Dick Cheney was the vice president under George W. Bush, by the way. And he helped oversee the 2003 invasion looking for the WMD. So Dick Cheney passed away. We're not going to do a live on that, but that did happen. I just saw it when I was looking through the news thing here. We'll see if this government shutdown continues. Oh, yeah, I got to admit I was wrong about the government shutdown. I thought the government shutdown was going to be over by Halloween. It was not over by Halloween. Halloween is over. And the government shutdown has continued. And SNAP benefits, people keep talking about SNAP benefits. That's the argument that keeps going on over on X. People talking about SNAP. But of course, there's emergency funds available for SNAP. I don't think it's going to get to the point that people on SNAP will not be getting their stuff, because that would be bedlam. That would be real craziness if that happens. I don't think it's going to happen. But we'll see. And Tara Mills says SNAP is destroying our market. Well, we've done a couple lives talking about that. We've done a couple lives talking about SNAP in different ways. So we'll see. Rick Thomas said Cheney shot his buddy on a hunting trip. Yeah, I remember that. He shot his friend by accident. It was an accidental shooting on a hunting trip with Dick Cheney. So we'll see. And yeah, Dick Cheney passed away. I guess it was this morning that he passed away. So thank you, everybody, for helping us get to 114,000 likes here today. Thank you to the moderators for keeping the chat going over there on YouTube. O-Dog says Cheyenne Bryant has a doctorate. That title means nothing. Who's Cheyenne Bryant? Agnes Lorigan said, I only stand outside to verify the people showing up. I think people will show up. You got to remember, Kamala Harris got a bunch of votes. She didn't win, but she got a whole bunch of votes. If you're in the final two for the presidential election and you're representing the entire political party, you're going to get a whole bunch of fans just because you represented the party. Even if you lose badly, you're going to get a whole bunch of fans just because you represented the party in the election. Kamala Harris has a whole bunch of built-in fans that will always be her fans because she was the Democratic nominee, technically, in 2024. All right, that's a guarantee. And those fans ain't going away. All that said, everybody, you want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. The main thing we're focusing on now is the mastermind inside of our Power Presence Protocol. We already have the page out there, so just go to the link in my profile. You can see everything about the mastermind and our challenge that is starting next Monday. Our challenge is beginning next Monday. I will be live again next Monday as well. If you want to get directly into the mastermind and skip the challenge, there's a link on the page for you to do that as well. Go to the link in my profile. You can learn more about that. So I will see everybody Monday is the next time I'll be live. I'll be out the rest of this week, but I'll be back on Monday with the normal show, normal delivery, normal style. If you like this one, come back on Monday. If you don't like this one, come back on Monday. If you're not sure, come back on Monday. If you only caught a little bit of this, come back Monday. If you know somebody who needs to hear this, tell them to come on Monday. I will see everybody Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Everybody have a great Tuesday and a great rest of your week. If you live in New York City, good luck. All right, if y'all end up with Zoran Mamdani as your mayor and he ends up actually trying to do the stuff that he's talking about, most of it he probably won't, but he's going to try. We'll see. I'll see everybody Monday. Everybody have a great week. Work on your game. We out of here.